It's not often I have to wear a life jacket on Ignition GT. After all, we drive cars, not float them. But then it's not every day we get invited to go to Liverpool, to the docks, to drive a new car. And any other manufacturer I would have said, no thanks, love. But this is Range Rover. It's the new Evoque. It has all the prestige of the Range Rover brand, but all the practicality and functionality of the Land Rover brand. And we're really looking forward to see if it floats our boat.
Liverpool may not be the prettiest of cities, but it did provide some interesting terrain for the Evoque to show off its many talents. Built on a mostly new platform, only about 15% is shared with Freelander, Evoque soaked up the bumps around town with absolute ease. The 6-speed auto box is an absolute pleasure in urban driving, and that's a good thing, as Land Rover South Africa has decided not to bring a manual option when Evoque launches here in November. But that wasn't the main thing we learnt about Evoque while visiting Anfield, the home of Liverpool Football Club, and some of the many cultural and architectural highlights of the city. A slow drive through Wapping Tunnel showed us that while Evoque is every bit a thing of beauty, it also has the bite to match its badge. It made thirsty work of the puddles and muddy terrain in this old disused railway tunnel that runs on a sharp incline. More water was guzzled at the docks, where the new baby Rangie showed that even in this dynamic spec with its diffuser, spoilers and sporty looks, its overhangs can easily handle fairly sharp ingress and egress.
But to really show you what this car can do off-road, we need to drive somewhere else. I've changed outfits. We're swapping the home of the Beatles for the home of sheep. Hello, Wales.
This Menai suspension bridge links the Welsh mainland to Anglesey, where the first ever Land Rover was designed in 1947. So would Maurice Wilks, Rover's chief designer at that time, and the man who drew the picture of the world's first off-road vehicle in the sand, be proud of the Evoque?
Yes, I think he would. It's not often that we see a concept car come into reality looking pretty much the same. In fact, we saw this as the LRX at the Johannesburg Motor Show in 2008. It's really unusual to see an SUV with such a rakish roofline and 2 doors. It's a coupe SUV and it is stunning in the flesh. Yes, there is also a 5-door version, but if you want to be distinctive and original, this is the one to go for.
It is the smallest, lightest Range Rover. Clearly that talks to a world that's far more conscious of sustainability. Now, we're not saying all our vehicles now are suddenly going to shrink. It's fairly true to say, however, all our vehicles will become much lighter and more fuel efficient, etc. And I can remember in some of the early debates about, oh well, we need to get more wheel travel, so that's going to change the profile, we're going to need to put the roof up at the back so we've got more. No, we've got to engineer it in a way that allows us to create exciting, dramatic, totally unique shape. This isn't just about me on my own. I'm surrounded by some incredibly capable people, both designers and engineers. Things like this very dramatic falling roof and this very distinctive rising beltline, the waistline, is something we've never seen before. It talks to a sort of coupe-like vehicle, but it's still unmistakably a Range Rover.
And if you want to take this radical design a step further, there are endless options available to personalize your Evoque. You can change the 20-inch silver alloy wheels on this model, add roof rails, chrome or aluminium tread plates. The brains behind Evoque have also been clever with their use of technology in developing the body. Using a combination of aluminium, plastics and composite material in all the right places, Evoque manages to stay trim on the scales, but also scores on the green card, with recyclable and recycled material in use for various parts of the body.
The best thing about the coupe design is that it hasn't compromised the interior space at all. I'm only 5'4", granted, but there's plenty of legroom, there's plenty of headroom. It's every bit as spacious and comfortable as a normal 4-door SUV would be, only it looks much better from the outside.
The feeling of space is also enhanced by the panoramic glass roof, which helps counteract the slight feeling of claustrophobia you might experience from that high waistline. Up front, it's all square design to give it a more utilitarian feel, more Defender if you will. That's echoed in the vents, the steering wheel and in the center console. Ah, and what do we have here? A little bit of Jaguar. I love that they've lifted the rotary gear shift from the big cat and put it in here. Everything is where it needs to be, simple and easy to use without going overboard. The only thing I would like is auto-closing doors, as they are heavy and generally require a second attempt at closing properly. The wing mirrors are also pretty large, which would be tricky on the skinny windy lanes of Wales or indeed in narrow off-road situations. There's plenty for tech fundies too, with a rear-view camera that includes Land Rover's dual-view display on an 8-inch high-definition touchscreen. There's Bluetooth and aux inputs, as well as USB ports and loads of extra bits like park assist and rear entertainment screens, so you can spec your Evoque to your liking. I love the touch-sensitive interior lights, simple but unusual. There's also an excellent sound system from Meridian. The boot is decent enough, and we have to note that Land Rover specifically tested drivers, that is Golf drivers, to make sure they fit. But we've digressed. There's just so much to get through on this car. We were talking about off-roading, and yes, we are in Wales, where there's plenty of opportunity to test out what the Evoque is capable of. But now that we're here, I'm not going to go into too much detail. You can rest assured that this is every bit a Range Rover in terms of its capabilities off-road. It's as happy picking up its skirt and wading through water in the city as it is kicking off its high heels and clambering over rocks. It's excellent here. But it's also excellent here. We're driving the 2-litre petrol model that's got 177 kilowatts and 340 newtons. If you want a little bit more torque, you can get the diesel model. It's a 2.2-litre, putting out 420 newton meters.
All the cars we're getting are 4-wheel drive models, that's right, there's no 2-wheel drive, so maybe that'll encourage more people to take it off-road. But if you are only taking it on-road, you'll be more than happy. Plenty of power from low in the rev range, very balanced car, very planted on the road, and nice precise steering.
Part of what makes the Evoque such a pleasure to drive is MagneRide. This is a shock absorption system that takes your suspension from comfy to sporty in just a few seconds, and you really do feel the difference immediately.
On this particularly challenging piece of road, everything that I'm doing as a driver, to the steering, brakes and throttle, and everything that's coming into the chassis from the road is measured 1,000 times a second. With that information, the 5 main control modules optimise each corner of the vehicle to give it the appropriate damper setting. Typically, we'll change each damper setting up to 50 times a second. As I enter a corner, the roll control module controls the outside wheels into compression and the inside wheels into rebound. This gives us the confidence-inspiring cornering that we want for Range Rover Evoque. Should we hit a bump mid-bend, Adaptive Dynamics is quick enough to react and can instantaneously turn that damper off. This gives us the control and supple isolation that we want for Range Rover.
Other driving options include a sport option on the gears, which changes your dials to red and offers the opportunity to use the paddles on your steering wheel. It is thirstier this way, but generally Evoque is fairly kind to your tank, with a claimed combined consumption on this petrol model of around 8.5 litres per 100 k's. Unsurprisingly, Evoque has been through extensive testing in sand, snow and mud, putting it through its paces on factors like engine tilt and suspension. It's a very, very important model for the company, and it's one that many have been waiting for with bated breath. And they've been quick to snap it up. Land Rover's Halewood manufacturing plant in the UK has received 18,000 advance orders from customers worldwide.
Range Rover have got it so right with this car. It's so distinctive in a package that you're either going to love or hate, granted, but if you hate it, clearly you have no taste. It's spacious and luxurious inside without being over the top, and it's as sporty on-road as it is capable off-road. The models we're getting will all come in just under 600,000 Rand, with this top spec model we're driving at 604. Will it sell at that price? Absolutely. There's very little wrong with the Range Rover Evoque.